Welcome to Fine Art Diary. Today we are going to paint a beautiful sunset in acrylic, step by step. So let's jump into the painting. For this particular painting, I am going to use this 18 by 12 inch canvas, which is of 10 ounce medium grain. Before doing anything, let me introduce my color palette. I am using Artist Acrylic color and this is my color palette. So the colors I am going to use will be titanium white, cadmium yellow medium, yellow ochre, vermilion red, crimson lake, light magenta, brilliant purple, deep magenta, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, raw umber, and Paynes grey. So let's jump into the painting. In my color palette, you have noticed I have kept so many violet colors because in my today's painting the dominant color will be violet. So I am going to use violet as my key color and I am going to use with that the complementary color of it. Now mixing a very warm grey color, and in that I am using cadmium yellow medium, a little bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of crimson lake. Okay, and let's start painting. This will be the focal point of the painting, so I am starting from here only, and this portion will have the maximum warm color. The rest part of the painting will be cool. Gradually I will introduce more warm color in this area. This will be the sky, and now I am blocking the clouds, adding a little bit ultramarine blue to make the color a little darker. Also adding crimson lake with it to make it towards the violet. I think I should add a little more. Alright. The basic idea is the focal point will be warmer and gradually it will be violet and gradually it will be blue. So from warm color to cool color. So I need to create a gradation from warm color to cool color. This is what exactly I am trying to do right now. As I told, the next layer of the color will be the cool color. So I am adding a little bit ultramarine blue and creating the next layer of it. And you can see in a zigzag pattern you can give the brush stroke so that you can blend it very nicely, making it more blue and darker in color. Now you can see the gradation I am creating. From the focal point it was warm, gradually violet, and then gradually very cool color. So what exactly I am doing right now, I am blocking the sky, not the cloud, but I am blocking the sky. In your finished painting, this blocking of the sky will be very much visible, and that will create the value of the painting. I want the top part of the painting should be desaturated, and that is the reason I am adding Paynes grey color with this blue. And now you can see the top part is becoming darker and more cool and desaturated. Gradually it will come down and will be lighter and warmer. Giving a touch of crimson lake and making it a little more violet. Instead of crimson lake, you also can use alizarin crimson that will also create the same effect because both the colors are transparent, so you will get the same result. For today in my color palette I have taken Crimson Lake. You can see I have created a nicely blended sky. Now let's emphasize the focal point a little more and let's make it a little more warm. So taking titanium white and mixing it with cadmium yellow medium, I think it is a little bit too much of yellow, so adding a little bit Crimson Lake with it. It is still a little more darker, so need to add white. Let's add direct white to it, and now I am getting the correct value in this area. Add a little more. Let's make it a little cool so that it will be blended with the background. Now let's make the lower part of the painting. So adding Crimson Lake, a little bit ultramarine blue. I am going to use only these 4 to 5 colors throughout the painting because, as I told previously, my entire painting will be violet dominated painting. So I am creating the same color, and for this lower part again the same thing is going to happen. I am planning to make water in this part. That is the reason I am going to create the same gradation I have created for the upper part, only I am making this part a little bit darker. Because on the water we can see the reflection of the sky, the warm focal point also will be reflected on water, so I have to add a little bit yellow into it. Also need to make it a little lighter. I think it should be a little more lighter. You can see I am trying to mimic the color of the focal point because that is being reflected. Okay, the base tone is done. Now I will clean the palette and will mix the color for the distant hills. So let's start with Crimson Lake and adding yellow ochre to it, a little bit cad yellow medium. Well, let's make it a little lighter, so adding white to it. Alright, now taking ultramarine blue, I am going to mix 2 violets. One will be towards the red, another violet will be towards the blue. So this will be towards the red. Okay, now let's block in the distant hills. Now with this shape I am also planning to do the blocking of the clouds also, so that a part of the hill will be merged with the cloud, and it will create a sense of perspective. You can see I am mixing my violet by ultramarine blue and crimson lake. So wherever I am filling, I need a little bit more red, I am mixing more crimson lake, and I need more blue, I am mixing more ultramarine blue. So like this, according to your necessity, you are going to mix your colors. Now let's do the blocking of small clouds, and for that I am going to mix my color. So ultramarine blue, crimson lake, and a touch of white. Now let's do the blocking of the clouds. Through the brush, I am trying to create a rhythmic pattern in this area, and I am also thinking of the perspective of the cloud. The clouds are going far will be smaller gradually, and the clouds coming towards us will be bigger. So like that I am doing the blocking. It will create the sense of perspective. If you ask how to paint it beautiful, there is actually no secret, because so many elements are working together. If you can arrange all these elements properly in its place, then the final output is going to look beautiful. So from the beginning, we have to take care of these elements. Like, we need to arrange the shapes properly, we need to arrange the color properly, we need to compose the value properly. So if we are doing all these things, then automatically your painting is going to look beautiful. Now switching to my round hog brush, and this time I am mixing the color of the light. So a little bit of vermilion red and cad yellow medium, and a touch of white with it. So the setting sun is hitting the clouds from the horizon, and that is the reason the lower part of the clouds are getting light. So I'm trying to block in the light over here. Now I will blend the light and shadow areas, and for that I am taking a kind of in-between color and I'm trying to blend it. Now let's make the blocking a little bit more strong, and I am also thinking of increasing the contrast a little bit of the overall sky. Now once again adding light in the clouds, and some clouds will be very much translucent and some light will be absorbed inside that cloud, and the color will be the light color itself. This time I am painting the light with light crimson color. So whenever we are painting something, we should have a dominant color, and the dominant color will be flooded on each and every color. So we need to mix that particular color to each and every color. Then only the entire painting will look equalized. I am trying to do the same over here. So the light areas also should get a little bit of violet. So I'm just adding that layer. Now adding some dark to the sky and trying to create a contrast between the sky and the clouds. Also thinking of desaturating the sky a little bit so that the colorful highlights will be much more visible if the background is a little bit desaturated. Now let's re-establish some clouds once again. Once again, I am going to paint the highlight of the clouds, and for that I am mixing titanium white and a touch of cad yellow medium, and it will be a very light value. So let's paint the light now. These areas are getting light because of the subsurface scattering property of the cloud. And that is the reason I am painting the light on the top of these clouds. Now let's paint the lightest area of the sky. So for that, let's mix it a color of titanium white, cad yellow medium and ultramarine blue, and let's paint. So I am painting the parts of the sky that is looking through the cloud, and gradually it is going from the lightest part to the darkest areas. So accordingly we need to mix our color a little bit darker. Re-establishing the warm midtones once again of the clouds. For now, the sky is done. Now let's do the block-in of the distant hills and the horizon. And for that I am mixing a color with Crimson Lake and Ultramarine Blue. From the beginning I am using the same colors, but the value is different every time. This time for this block-in, my color has to be a little bit darker. And I am also mixing a little bit Paynes Gray. The areas just in front of the light, I am making it a little more darker, and gradually it will be blended with the sky. In this area you can notice that from one basic shape I have divided into two different layers. The front layer is a little bit darker and the back layer is a little bit lighter. So it will create a sense of depth in the painting. The background is almost ready. Now let's work with the mid-ground water. For that I am mixing the color Ultramarine Blue, Paynes Gray, Crimson Lake and a touch of Titanium White. And you can see I am repeating the same colors again and again. Now let's paint the water. If you are using a bigger canvas, make sure your brushes are also bigger. Then you will get better brush strokes. You can see I am repeating the sky color on the water. Then only it will give it a sense of the reflection. Now it's time for foreground blocking, and for that I will mix my color with Ultramarine Blue, Paynes Gray a touch of crimson lake, and a touch of white. These are stones and should have a very random shape, and that is the reason our stroke has to be very spontaneous. This basic block-in is very important because you are going to get the entire shape from this block-in only. So this is the basic design you are creating now. The value, the proportion, everything is there in this block-in. Later on, the detailing can be added over this block-in. But this is the structure of your entire foreground layer. We don't have to make it very detailed, but it has to be very precise. At the same time, it should be very spontaneous. Now let's add the shadows in the foreground, and for that I am making my color a little bit darker and also desaturated. For the detailing of the painting, I am using 4 different round hog brushes. One is number 7, second is number 3, third is number 1, and for the smallest detailing, I am going to use number 0 brushes. This is the number 1 brush I am using now. So let's add some detailing in the shadow. The basic idea is to break the bigger shapes into many smaller shapes. Then automatically you will get the detailing of the foreground. Now let's introduce the highlight. So first of all, I am concentrating only about the bounce light, and our bounce light will be very cool, and later on I am going to add very warm direct light, and definitely the direct light intensity will be much more than the bounce light. So now I am blocking the bounce light. You can call it modeling of an object, because you are converting an object into a 3-dimensional volume by introducing lights. Now I am re-establishing the darkest dark once again to create a little bit more depth. Now with this small shadow pattern, we have the opportunity to break the shapes even more, and like this you can add some detailing to your model. Once again, I am adding some highlight, and still this will be the bounce light. So in the highlight area, I am breaking the shapes once again. Later on, I will add the highlight coming from a key light. So now whatever highlight I am using, these are the bounce lights, and I am adding some of the highlights created because of reflection. And you can see the connecting areas where the water surface is connecting the object. You will be able to see a kind of highlight, and those highlights will be bounce light only. So I'm just trying to create that illusion over here. Also refining some of the areas of the stone by giving a little bit more highlight. Now it's time to create the most glossy areas, and you can see for this I'm using a relatively warm color, and this light is coming from the key light, though it is also indirect light, but this light is coming from the warmer part of the environment. So that is the reason it is having the most glossy part. Alright, now let's make a boat on the water. So for this also, first I need to do the blocking of the boat, and then I'm going to give the highlight on it, and then I'm going to create the reflection. So let's do the blocking. With the blocking, at the same time I am blocking the reflection also. So I'm taking the same color and trying to create the reflection simultaneously. This is the focal object of this scenery, so I'm going to use the darkest dark for this object. This much dark I didn't use anywhere in the scenery, and at the same time I'm using highlight of that area. Now let's do the blocking of the upper part, and this part will not be that much dark, and it is having a kind of medium value. Rectifying the shape a little bit in this area. Also adding the same color in the reflection. At the edge, I am giving the hints of the rim light because the key light is at the back. Also adding bounce light because the indirect light will bounce back from the water surface. Once again adding some highlight here and there. Now coming back to the sky for the last time and creating some sharp edges in the clouds. I'm giving just a touch of highlight. Alright, now by the help of this wooden ruler, I am drawing the mast of the boat, and it has to be dark enough. Alright, and let's give some detailing to it. Now creating some ropes with a rigger brush. Rigger brush is the best choice to create ropes like this. Now let's plug in the jeep of the boat. We are pretty close to the end of the painting, so now let's add the reflection of the boat. Over here also I am going to do the same thing. First the dark tone I am giving, and then I am going to add the mid-tones, and then I am going to add the highlights. Adding some ripples on the water. So still I am working with the mid-tone colors only. And now let's add some final highlights. Alright, so my beautiful sunset painting is ready. The material I was using today, I am giving the entire list in the description. You can check it out. Hope you enjoyed the session, and don't forget to subscribe the channel for the future videos. Thank you very much for watching.